7:34, we are called to order. If everybody could please rise and pledge the flag. Thank you, folks, and roll call, please, Angela.
Saba Al-Zayed.
Here.
Amy High. James Fee.
Here.
Megan Nolan.
Here.
Diane Gundrum.
Here.
Tony Heil.
Here.
Kyle Shank.
Here. Then, Angela, for the record, Councilwoman High is traveling on her honeymoon at the moment, so she will be back for our next meeting.
Mr. President, I note for the record that we were in executive session from approximately 7 o'clock to approximately 7:35 with regard to personnel issues.
Thank you, Mr. Bello. Mr. Truman, take it away.
All right, good evening, everybody. First up on the agenda is the approval for council consideration, the approval of the January 10th, 2023 meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Motion from Mr. Heil, seconded by Ms. Al-Zayed to approve the January 10th meeting minutes. Any additional questions or comments from council or the public on those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
All right, next up for council consideration is the approval of the January 24th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Make the motion. I'll second.
We have a motion from Ms. Al-Zayed, seconded by Ms. Nolan, I believe, to approve the January 24th minutes. Questions or comments from council or the public on those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, next up for council consideration, a motion to hire Ryan Gridone to the position of part-time patrol officer. And before council considers that vote, I will turn it over to Mayor Jack Sear. I believe she has a few words to say.
I do. Ryan Gridone is 29 years of age of Feasterville, Pennsylvania. He's a 2011 Neshaminy High School graduate. He then attended Bucks County Community College and the Middle Bucks Institute of Technology from 2011 to 2015 while working for the family business. Gridone attended the Montgomery County Community College Municipal Police Academy, graduating in December of 2022. He's a certified inspection mechanic and tow operator at Gridone's Towing in Ivyland, and he enjoys riding dirt bikes and ATVs in his off time.
Thank you, Mayor Jack Sear. Council could certainly entertain a vote.
I will make a motion to hire Ryan.
I'll second.
Motions from Mr. Heil, seconded by Mr. Fee to hire Ryan Gridone as a part-time patrol officer with the Bridgeport Police. Questions or comments from council or the public? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Congratulations, Mr. Gridone.
And next up for council consideration, we will perform the oath ceremonies for both officers after these two votes. For council consideration, a motion to hire Robert Keown to, again, the position of part-time patrol officer. Mayor Jack Sear, a few words.
A few things to share about him. Robert Keown is 30 years of age of Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. He's a 2010 graduate of Archbishop Carroll High School and a 2017 graduate of Westchester University with a BA in Political Science and a Liberal Arts AA. Keown attended the Delaware County Municipal Police Academy, graduating in 2019. He's a 2-year veteran law enforcement officer and is employed as a patrol officer with Darby Borough PD and Lower Chichester PD. Keown enjoys hiking and golf in his off hours.
And thank you, Mayor Jaxier. And again, I will turn it back over to council for a vote.
I think we're fortunate to have great people that want to be our police officers, so I'll make a motion to hire Robert.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Heil, seconded by Ms. Gundrum, to hire Robert Keown as a part-time patrol officer with the Bridgeport Police. Question or comments from council? Or the public? All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is unanimous, and congratulations and welcome to town.
And with that, we will proceed with the oath ceremony. Mayor Jaxier, gentlemen, if we could meet at the podium up there.
Great. All right, so right hand. I, Ryan Gridone,
I, Ryan Gerdone,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of the Commonwealth, my office with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. All right. And then let me just sign this when we're done. Okay. All right. Same deal. If you want to put your right hand and then repeat after me. I, Robert Keown,
I, Robert Keown,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right.
Family, if we can do photos with the family if we want, or with the mayor.
Where at?
Let's fan out right here. That'd be good. Officer Keown?
Just me.
Can I get you one, get one with you and Mayor Jaxier? With both officers? Thank you very much. And then all three of you? Mayor, why don't you get in the room?
You're in charge.
Thank you. Appreciate the patience.
Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, too.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Likewise.
Hey, and gentlemen, I know you're just going to be here part-time, but I'm looking forward to seeing you out there, and I hope you get to meet some folks in town. It's a great place to be.
Thank you.
If you could do the other ones.
And everyone else, we do have some interesting stuff on the agenda tonight as far as the borough goes. I'm not sure the meeting may go another 45. I don't want to put a time out there because I'll get held to it. We're going to have some time to talk about some stuff, some development stuff, some things that are happening. If you want to stick around for it, it could be educational, but you certainly do not have to. I'm not sure how long we'll be here. I'll reiterate, we won't be offended. It's okay. Your jobs aren't hanging on it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, next up for council consideration is the conditional final land development approval for PRDC properties, excuse me.
Most of you, but we started filling the site last year. We started placing that dirt and building the retaining wall. Unfortunately for us, most of this work started as the weather turned cold and a little wetter. It hasn't been conducive to get council down there. Council, this a video today. So I think all pretty well. I think we've been illustrative of the last 4 months of work that we've been doing. We're 200, I think we're about 215,000 cubic yards of a 360,000 cubic yard import. So this is where the apartment building will be, and the townhouses run down this way. This is just one video at one angle, but this is where the walking trail will be that will connect up. We've worked out easements with Conshohock and Brewing. That will have a connection point here for the trail. This will be paved. Your police department, emergency vehicles will be able to get down there, as well as maintenance crews. So that's one. And Keith, you just want to show the other one? I thought just might be. And this is the pile that started to now grow again. This will be the first. This is over right by Depot Street. These are townhouses that'll be coming in. This will be the new Depot Street. So as of today, we will have about $9.5 to $11 million worth of site work invested into this site. And this is, like I said, the stockpile that's been growing. We're starting to now actually place again because the weather's cooperating a little bit more. So that's that.
Tony, can I interrupt just briefly? If it's not too big of an ask, is this something we could share publicly, these two videos? And now the part you might not like, could you do a voiceover? Just to give a little bit of not
You
now.
want to hear more of me? Are you?
Just, I think it would be very beneficial for everybody to see this and to understand what the giant pile of dirt is and that wall. I mean, you can write a script and I'll do it if you'd like.
Yeah,
but
no, I'll happily do it.
if we put a little something to it, we could share this with everybody. I mean, obviously there have been dump trucks all through town. We've had some talks with some folks about the dirt and the dust and the mud, and that kind of goes with the construction site. But it would be great to be able to share this.
Oh, absolutely. Look, there's a phrase, you can't make an omelet unless you break some eggs. I know we've broken some eggs along the way. We intend to clean it all up when we get to the end of it. but I thought it was important for council who doesn't have time, has had time to get down there doing daytime hours, to be able to see this. And when the weather gets better, I would invite council to come, and we'll arrange an evening or to meetings at several times for you guys to tour the site.
I'm not sure everybody in town understands the scope of this, even though we've, presented it over drawings and everything we've done, but seeing it with this footage, it really puts it into some context.
Yeah, thank you. Keith, the third item up there was just the land development plan. So, and by the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't wish all of you, especially my good friend Mr. Bello, happy Valentine's Day. I was gonna bring chocolates and flowers, but the school intervened on me, and I could not get that done.
Save it for the groundbreaking.
Well, see, we're bringing champagne then. So we've been before you a number of times on a number of items, and really where we are is this plan set and this amended conditional final plan approval that I'm asking for is to clean up, and I asked Keith to just give me the plan for the record. So if you want to zoom in a little, just so people can see, and yep, and then just to get the plan in, yep. So there's been, in terms of major design changes, when I say major, you've all seen this before and voted for it. There was a change out here to combine up this building because we had a Pico gas easement. The old plan that you had approved did not, it showed the same unit count, but this building was split. There's been some small changes that you won't see in terms of stormwater alignment. We've worked out all the geometry on the roads. We've worked through review letters with the borough's engineer. I believe Mr. Woyden would be of the opinion that we have, quote unquote, a clean letter at this point, that he is satisfied we've met the conditions of his letter. Subject to a final review for recording, we have provided your solicitor with draft HOA documents and a plat that we have to still work through. But again, that stuff usually happens outside the purview of the elected body. They're satisfied in the conditions. We've talked about financial security for the development. Like I said, we're in a little bit of a unique spot because most developers wait to get everything and then try to put money up. We've put our money where our mouth is. So we're heavily invested into this at this point. So by the time Mr. Woyden gets done reviewing the financial security agreement, we probably should be somewhere around paving. So at the rate we're going. But, we've worked out some issues and questions with staff regarding dedication. We've clarified all of that. There were a couple of waivers that were granted along the way after our initial approval, so they're reflected. So really what tonight is for me is kind of a cleanup so that your staff and your professionals have the ability to say, check off the last bit of items, and then we can present the plans for recordation. I'm also happy to take any questions any member of council may have or your staff may have. And I've given your solicitor a draft revised resolution concurrent with what we had previously done before and cleaning up a couple of the items. There was a second zoning hearing and some other items. So with that.
I think we've all seen the amount of work that's happening on a very regular basis. Do you have any idea how many people are working on it, or like a rough figure of how many people have been working total?
Day between all of the trades when the wall was being built, I think we had roughly 60 contractors on site on any given day. We probably average about 30 to 40. It slowed a little bit because we were working out. The folks at Upper Marion made a change in the plan. There was the force main used to run kind of through here and up through here. Wasn't a big deal really, but they asked us to put the pipe back out here. So that kind of slowed down some of my pipe work a little bit, but we're back on pace for that now. If there were some design changes to the wall, some other things. So we lost a little bit of traction on that, but overall standpoint, for the first time, you have the Upper Marion force main, which kind of zigzagged through this site in some sort of haphazard fashion, now will be located out here where the walking trail is going to be. They'll have access to it. It won't bother your residents. In the end, after 2 years, and I have to give a lot of props to your engineer and your solicitor, because if it wasn't for that and Keith Truman's constant effort, and I know Kyle working behind the scenes, I don't know if we would have gotten there that easily. But we really came up with a much better design, and so thank you for all of your help and support through that process. So I was being only a little sarcastic when I said it wasn't a big change. It was like we already built the wall in move everything again. So it's like building a house and shifting it 4 inches.
And we had really impressive how fast you've been moving. I'm glad you are. Were having issues with getting some of the tools you needed, backlog of orders. Is that getting better now, being able to get the things you need to build?
No. You find pipe, but we didn't have all the fitting counts. But no pipe was. So we ordered the pipe. We ordered the pipe. So it's it's just pick your poison. Up for the has worked with us. We've come up with substitutes at our financial detriment, but to the betterment of the project. We're having some custom-made stainless fittings manufactured in order to make the connections so we could stay on pace. 2 times the cost of an average fitting, but it's more important to keep the job moving. And if we can stay on pace, we are due to convey our first lots to Lennar in May, and they are intending to deliver their first home sometime in the November timeframe. So that'll be the first new residence in the community. And again, this job sometimes has seemed like it's moved extraordinarily slow from my standpoint, but from a overall development standpoint, this has moved extremely fast, and that's because we've had a great working relationship with you, and that's gone a long way to how far we've been able to get. So thank you.
I have to say, and I know Mr. Woyden and Mr. Bello will agree even more, having seen some of the slower progress before you got here, and then how fast from your initial design. Granted, you were able to get some things that had been there before, approvals, et cetera, but there we were like, well, eventually this will get done. And now from idea, concept to all the work, I can tell it's fast. The residents might not all notice, but it's fast because they're not watching it. Just a couple questions to clarify the waivers and what we need. Mr. Woyden, maybe you'll be able to answer better. I saw some issues about the street sizes or curbing. Any of the changes going to affect safety with fire trucks and police or anything like that? Or you think that all the changes are copacetic with public safety with those trucks?
I'd be happy to answer that for you, Mr. Heil, and I also want to add something to your previous comment after I do that, if I may. We did ask the consultants for Mr. Maris to run truck turning radiuses for those exact issues for the safety. Both we had him run it for fire trucks, the size of the borough's fire trucks. We also had to run it for moving vans to make sure that we could get trucks in there when people move in. And everything meets that criteria. The other point, if I may, Mr. Heil, is that I want to be clear that everything that Mr. Maris and his associates have done have been at his risk, because obviously tonight you're going to issue your approval of this subdivision land development plan if council so decides that. All the work they've been doing is at risk. Mr. Maris has noted that for Mr. Bello and for council. It's all been, in a cooperative way to help the project kind of keep moving along. But they understand that this all could be for naught if they don't get this final approval from council, whether that's tonight or in the near future.
No, and we've had some great developers come through here and some not so great developers. So being able to work collaboratively with anyone that wants to build in the borough and answer questions. I know you're very eager to get it done, but I know you appreciate us, but we appreciate that relationship. So that's completed and done then, the truck thing, the radius?
That's correct.
And the other question I had, just to clarify, from your letter, Mr. Woyden, was about the things needing approval for phase 1 versus phase 2, like piping and whatnot. Does everything seem okay with the pace of when things will be approved? Because that was a little bit confusing for me as a layperson to know, I know you're eager to rush it, but I don't want to put concrete down, then you got to put the pipes down type of thing.
But it's a very good question, Mr. Heil, and the reason that I mentioned that in our letter is just to be clear about when you approve projects in phases, right? If and it's, developers are interesting people sometimes, you know. They phase a project, but they put the first phase at the far end of the project. So to get to where you got to get, you have to build all the things to get to the other end, right? So it was just a matter of clarity, and I'm sure that Mr. Marison and his consultants understand that if phase one is out where the apartments are, and you have to run a sewer line to service that all the way down through phase three, then you have to do that.
If I can just back onto that, the phase is designed to handle this thing with the conservation district. As your solicitor knows, we are posting the full financial job. Our contract is the site improvements, whether Lennar finishes buying lots or buys them all, will be done by 2024. So you will have a site with essentially almost this time next year. So the site is waiting for homes to be built by that point. So, and that's all, currently that work is being done, as Mr. Wood and Mr. noted, at our risk. So if tonight was April Fool's and Mr. King said, hey, you know what, I might laugh for a second right before I dropped over. But no, we've a concerted effort to try to make connections to existing utilities and then build the infrastructure. So we weren't doing it haphazardly. Things that are a little bit out of order. There's some things that weren't where we expected them to be. Not again, in a job this old and in borough infrastructure. I think PA America actually has 3 water lines in Front Street, not 1. No one was more than that, really. So that was kind of interesting. So
I believe only one of them is active, though.
only one of them is active. Well, now that they're there, you can just grout the other 2 shut. I'm like, well, why don't you grout them shut? Well, we didn't know they were there. So.
Thanks for being cognizant of that, because we don't want the eagerness to get something done to end up, causing a headache later down the road. Obviously, you don't want that because of your risk and investment, but we don't want to end up saying, oh, all this stuff is for naught, and now development is going to take longer. So I appreciate answering that kind of detailed question.
I'll follow up with a question. When we're looking at this, I know we have multiple phases to this project. This letter says final. Final? Is council green lighting and we're good, we're out, and now it's up to the administration and you guys, or is there more to come before us?
There are conditions in the final approval, so he has to meet those conditions to move forward.
Sure, so meet the conditions to move forward, but as far as any decisions the council is going to make.
This should be it tonight. I mean, other than you signing, unless we find something, Well, but this, if you, council members, you gave us the same type of approval 2 years ago, and we've cleaned up most of the conditions. Now it's really the stuff that to get it to the county. And our real goal is to try to get this plan recorded at the county in March. The county needs about 30 to 45 days to issue tax ID numbers, so that we're in a position to really start closing those lots. So that's really our time.
But in short answer to your question, if they didn't meet a condition, we would be back here.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think for us, we have approved so much, and it's actually here. It's kind of like getting married, where you've been planning for years, and you're like, wait a minute, so we have this other thing to do? Like, we're actually going to do this today? And you're like, yep, you're doing it. It's like, and again, from going through this before you were here, we just kept thinking, well, there's going to be 4 other versions of this plan. We're just going to keep approving plans. And now it's like, no, this is real. So that's kind of hard to believe, and I'm sure it's even harder to believe for you because you're doing it.
It's I'm at the job every week, so I see the progress incrementally. It's like kind of watching your kids grow. But the other day I had a chance to walk down and stood out inside of that wall. And when you stand there and you look at that and you think, where I was standing outside that wall is where the ground used to be. And then you walk up on the wall and you look back and you realize I'm filling even to those railroad tracks and raising Front Street and everything else. And it's almost surreal. And from my standpoint, you guys have seen me a lot. I said to my partner David, this is the first chance I've really had to make new ground. This is new taxable ground. This is new developable ground, because all this was sitting in a floodplain and nobody could figure it out. So it's not often you get to build a site in whole cloth with a fresh start, and that's really, where we are. So, as great as it's been, I want to thank all of you for the opportunity that and for the belief you've had in us. Because, you know, Steve and I know you guys had to be on. What are these two guys doing? You know, everyone hasn't figured it out, but thanks for your patience along the way.
I think, not to stretch the conversation out anymore, but one other thing to point out for folks that are watching this, those trucks that we see hauling in fill, just want to remind everybody that I believe the majority of that, if not all of it's coming from the school district excavation.
160,000 cubic yards of that dirt is coming from the Upper Marion School District, who donated that dirt to this project to make it successful.
Yeah, it's just something to keep in mind, that we have the buy-in from the community around us that really wants to see this town succeed. So it's just appreciated all around. And thank you for opening that line of communication and making that project work. Just all around good stuff.
No, sir.
Perhaps we can see if the audience has any questions or comments.
Folks, I know we have a few here on the land development issue before us on the riverfront. Are there any questions or anything to bring up and discuss before we put this final vote on the floor? All right, I don't see any. So what we're looking for here is a vote to approve this final land development submission, conditional with the obviously conditions in the letter submitted from Mr. Wooden.
Well, first, I have a question. There's some additional waivers requested, as I understand it.
Correct. I actually think my recollection, Mr. Bello, is that all the waivers have been granted along the way when issues came up, but I didn't have a formal resolution on them. So they've all been listed on the plan. Your engineer has seen them. There's no new waivers other than what Mr. Wooden has seen. I would just ask the council approve them en masse. That way, in case along the way we didn't document one, we got them all.
If I may, Mr. Bello, Mr. Maris, are there any you don't need that we should delete from the list, if that's appropriate, Mr. Bello, or?
I think previously the waivers that were, the stuff that was abandoned were some variance relief that was abandoned. And when I previously got the variance relief, I think we abandoned that to the extent it wasn't necessary. I think all of the waivers that were listed in some form or fashion were needed. Mr. Wooden, if you have one that you want to strike, I'm happy to strike it.
I think there was that intermediate step where we did do that at the last approval. So I guess you're just looking for a general approval of all waivers that appear on the plan. That vote would be taken before the vote to approve or deny the conditional plan.
And I guess the other thing I could add, Mr. Wooden, if we determine after this, before the plans are presented for recording, I could always unilaterally move to withdraw that waiver from the record plan set, and that way staff and I can work it out. I don't want to remove one tonight and then find out we need it and I got to come back again.
Yeah, I'm completely comfortable with that. Okay. So we would be looking for a vote to approve all waivers noted on the plan.
So we weren't withdrawing any?
I'm not withdrawing any yet.
Okay.
There might be a technical one that we cleaned up somewhere along the way. I'll work that out with Mr. Wood and Mr. Bello, but I would ask that all the waivers on the plan and all the waivers listed in the draft resolution be approved. I think because I think that gets them all.
Well, tell me about the difference.
There's 10 waivers, I believe, listed in the, and I don't have the first page of the plan. Do you have the waivers listed? Yeah, we have them listed. All on the first page? Is there 10 of them?
Well,
if you pull up the plan,
I'm fine with doing that for this evening,
Okay.
but what I'm asking for is that be incorporated in the final approval.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, you'll send whatever amendment you need to make.
I'll make whatever amendments necessary.
Okay.
We'd be looking for a vote to approve the waivers to the plan, and then we'd be looking for a vote to approve the plan with the conditions. Do the waivers first, yeah.
Approve the waivers that are.
So we'd be looking for a vote to approve the waivers that are set forth on the plan, on the letter.
And how many waivers is that? So for the public to know.
I think it's 10 total. I don't have it in front of me because I sent it electronically. But hold on a minute.
There are 12 listed in the resolution. There are 9, and then 3 potential, I think, if that's the right word, that were listed in the conditions.
Right, and there are 9 essential ones. There were some that, when the lot grading happened, there was like, lots have to be at right angles and some which are technical issues to the plan, buffer yards. These were other things that came up along the way. So what I would say is I believe that there are 12 waivers listed. They are all shown on the plan. to the extent we may have eliminated once we fixed it another way.
Right.
I'll clean that up between the two versions of this.
And nothing postdates the last approval.
Nothing postdates the last.
That's all, that's my only concern.
And I have no issues, Mr. Bello, with any of the waivers.
So I think then a motion to approve the waivers is just described by the professionals and the developer here. Do we need a specific number on that?
We don't, but it sounds like it's 12.
I think it's 12. right?
Okay.
Subject to reduction.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the following waivers. They're all rather minor and cosmetic, I think is a fair description of them for the most part.
De minimis.
They're,
De minimis.
especially, but this will all be advertised, this will all be on our website, right, Mr. Chairman? So people, for transparency purposes, people will be able to see this information.
Yes. I mean, what, Vice President Heil, can you specify which information you speak of?
What we're voting on.
In some encapsulated form, yes, there will absolutely be the cogent information on the website.
And I would also make note that this is the third discussion of those waivers. So if they're engaged at all, they should be aware of them at this point.
Yeah, that's fine. And I just want to make sure for transparency as a public official, I don't want to approve something and say, yeah, we're approving the waivers, and then people say, what did you approve? I just want to make sure that they're able to find that information. Nothing here is about something we're putting safety at risk or sewers. It just, so.
Is this part of the resolution? These waivers? Yeah, so these will be on the resolution. That'll be
It
filed
actually
and
appears in the
available
first two
publicly.
resolutions.
So just putting that out there. So I made the motion to approve the waivers.
I'll second.
Motion's from Mr. Heil, seconded by Mr. Fee to approve the waivers to the land development plan, the resolution here. Any additional questions or comments from council on those waivers specifically? Or the public? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. And then the next item would be approving the final approval on the land development letter,
I will make the motion to approve final land development.
subject to the conditions on the letter.
Subject to
Yes.
conditions.
All right.
I'll second.
We have motions from Mr. Heil. It's seconded by Ms. Alzad for the final approval of the conditional land development letter. Questions or comments from council or the public on that? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, then that is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, next up for council consideration, Resolution 2023-6, approving changes to the Bridgeport Non-Uniform Employee Handbook. Members of council, in your packets, you will find a draft of this resolution along with a synopsis of a previously distributed memorandum distributed to non-uniform staff, which summarizes the changes involved in the changes to the policy in the employee handbook. When the non-uniform employee handbook was adopted by council December 12th, 2017, and therefore, when further future changes, subsequent changes are made, those changes should be adopted by Borough Council as well, and that is what I am putting in front of you this evening.
To put into public record, the changes are rather minimal contractual information, but I know that this includes another paid office holiday and additional reimbursement amounts for certain things. So just
Yes,
regular things.
right, Vice President Heil, it revolves around or includes changes to definitions, employee classifications, a couple of small housekeeping, clerical corrections, and as you said, the section of the holiday section is being changed to reflect the added 12th paid office holiday for MLK Day, as well as a change to the employee health care program.
It's all good. I just wanted to make sure that when we approve something, that people have an idea that what we're doing. So with that in mind, I'll make a resolution to approve the changes.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Heil, second by Ms. Gundrum, to approve the changes to the non-uniform employee handbook. Questions or comments from council or the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thanks.
Next up for council consideration, authorization to advertise ordinance 2023-1, amending Chapter 560, which is the zoning book, Attachment 2, which is the table of permitted uses in the neighborhood commercial district. Members of council, in your packets, there was a copy of draft ordinance 2023-1, as well as the change in the change in question here, the amendment to the table of permitted uses as it pertains to the neighborhood commercial district. In short, this change is being done in an effort to strengthen and promote the future vitality of our commercial corridor. It is putting certain restrictions or limits on the types of residential uses that can be built in the new residential development within the neighborhood commercial district. For a real-life example, as much as we are all very eager and happy for the PRDC project to get underway, I think very early on, a lot of us saw that lot at the corner of 4th and 4th Street and thought to ourselves, that would be a fantastic place for a new commercial building. However, PRDC, which was their right, opted to build residential on that parcel, putting, I believe, 18 more residential homes right in the thick of what should be our commercial corridor. In short, this amendment would restrict the ability to do that moving forward. So again, it is an effort to strengthen and help along the rejuvenation process of our commercial corridor.
I think it's also a good thing to note that this is one of the many items that we've been working with the County Planning Commission on. We have a steering committee here that's been meeting with them regularly. Zoning updates are going to be part of that. There's going to be other items coming from those conversations with the Planning Commission. We've contracted with them to come in and help us out. But this is one of the first things we're actually bringing before council to discuss and change. But it's been thought through very thoroughly with those planning folks.
Yeah, and I really appreciate Mr. Wanzik was here for a minute. Appreciate his help. Roger from Gannett Fleming has been in those conversations. Keith, obviously, Ms. Gundrum, Mr. Schenk. And I think that a lot of these changes are to incentivize businesses to come here, since we'll have more people here, and also really encouraging that as we have these new developments coming in, that we make Bridgeport the walkable, accessible community that we want it to be. These zoning changes, as we discuss a lot of times, when we have these new building developments coming in here, it's not just to help those new people, but to make sure that everyone in the borough, including people who've lived here forever, are going to benefit from those things. And that's our goal. We don't want to be so restrictive that we have all this promise and it gets wasted in bureaucracy and like silliness. So I appreciate this. With that in mind, I will make the motion to advertise ordinance 2023-01 to amend this and get this moving.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Mr. Heil and a second by Ms. Nolan to amend the zoning change pursuant to the ordinance in the paperwork here. Sorry, I lost track of myself there. Additional questions or comments from council on this proposed zoning change? Or the public? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up for council consideration, authorization to advertise a vacancy on the Sustainability Advisory Committee. Members of council, last week we were notified by a member of the SAC that due to personal obligation, life obligations, they just don't have the time to devote to the committee that they previously did. So they tendered their resignation from the committee, and I tonight am seeking authorization to advertise said vacancy.
I'll second.
Motion from Ms. Alzad, seconded by Ms. Nolan to authorize the advertising of the vacancy on the Sustainability Committee. Questions or comments from the council or the public?
I'll just say, please join the committee. We're a lot of fun.
Thank you, Ms. Nolan. Additional comments? All right, then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that's unanimous. Thanks.
All right. Next up, authorization to purchase a 2022 Ford F-350 for the sewer department from Whitmoyer Auto Group, and the grand total on that is $49,452.51. Members of council, in your packets, you have a handful of cost estimates and purchase orders. This one in particular, obviously, is from one of two from Whitmoyer Auto Group tonight. The sewer department and Public Works are both scheduled to receive a new a new truck for a new item in their fleet to replace aging and breaking down vehicles. We had put an order in with a different dealer, and we are still proceeding with purchasing one of the trucks that we have secured through that dealer. However, that's going to be a 2023, and the weight on those is still yet to be determined. We're not sure when they're going to be ready this calendar year. In the interim, we found a 2022 F-350, a Super Duty, that is everything that the sewer department needs in a truck, as well as the full salt spreader and plow upfitting. This is an all-inclusive price. This is plow upfit, salt spreader upfit, and truck for $49,452. And just a note, I would say that this is not, despite the fact that this was authorized through the capital purchase, capital fund, a capital purchase in last fall, and the development of this year's budget, this is actually going to be paid through liquid fuels. We have saved up a much more. We have a much larger nest egg in the liquid fuels account to the tune of a couple $100,000 than we have historically had in that account, and we are able to purchase vehicles using liquid fuels money. So it's helpful that we had a few years where the expenditures for liquid fuels were rather lean. It let us save up some money, and now we can use that money on a purchase and help defray against capital funds, keep that money in the capital fund. So it's a good proposition all around.
Well, thank you, Mr. Truman, for the fact that we could probably afford it with our capital budget, but you're always looking for savings and being prudent. So with that in mind, I will make the resolution to purchase.
I will second that motion.
Motion's from Mr. Heil and seconded by Ms. Nolan to authorize the purchase of the big truck for the sewer department. Questions or comments from council or the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you.
All right, next up for council consideration, authorization to purchase a 2023 Ford Police Interceptor from Whitmoyer Auto Group to the tune of $44,200. Members of council, just as we were discussing during the last action item, this vehicle purchase it was authorized in the 2023 capital budget development. This is a direct replacement to the Chevy Tahoe that was involved in the car accident last year and was subsequently totaled. And yeah, that's about all I have on this one.
I'll make the motion.
A second.
Motion is from Ms. Nolan, seconded by Ms. Alzad, to purchase the police interceptor. Questions or comments from the council or the public on that one? All right, seeing none of those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you.
All right, next up for council consideration, authorization to purchase a police vehicle upfit from Marriott's Emergency Equipment, $11,906, excuse me. Members of council, this is the upfitting for the previously aforementioned approved vehicle that we just voted on. So we need to get all the police, law enforcement related equipment installed, and the cost for that would be $11,906.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
The motion is from Ms. Gundrum and seconded by Mr. Fee to authorize the upfit from Marriott's Emergency Equipment. Questions or comments from council or the public on that purchase? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Next up for council consideration, authorization to purchase a license plate reader camera system from Plate Logic. Total cost is $78,500. Members of council, this is, again, a purchase that was authorized in the 2023 capital budget development. This is 100% funded by a PCCD grant that Mayor Jack Sear worked very hard on. We recently received notification from the state that we are good to proceed with expending that grant. The grant awards have been executed. And with that, we are seeking authorization to proceed with the purchase of the LPR system.
Just before we do, Mayor Jackson, thank you so much for putting the time in on this one. I think folks in town are gonna appreciate this program for sure, and I know you put some work into it, so much appreciated.
Well, motion to purchase the reader. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Second.
The motion is from Mr. Heil and second by Ms. Gundrum to authorize the purchase of the plate reader system. Any additional questions or comments from council? Compliments for the mayor or from the public? All right, seeing none, I'm sure they're there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we can turn to unfinished business. Are there any items of unfinished business to discuss this evening? All right, seeing none, we can proceed to committee reports. Are there any committee reports to share? All right, very well. Moving on to the mayor's report. Mayor Jack Sear.
Thank you. During my last office hours, I got to speak with the president of the Bridgeport Upper Merion Little League. They want everyone to know that they're looking for more kids to participate this year to make it more exciting for everyone involved. And they would actually very much appreciate some new volunteers, which would ideally be adults. Whether you want to be a coach or an equipment manager, they can really use any help you can give with fundraising, whatever, even if you only have a little bit of time. And depending on the role, you don't even need to know about baseball, which is good to know. So if you're looking for a pretty local volunteer opportunity, and even if you don't have a lot of time to spend, this is a really great organization to work with. And speaking of office hours, I will be hosting my February office hours on this Saturday, the 18th, from 10 to 11:30 a.m. in my office on the first floor of Borough Hall. And at this point, you've likely seen information online and in person regarding Founders Day, or just directly from me. And starting as of yesterday, you can pick up your scavenger hunt punch cards at each of the 5 businesses participating in the community-wide week-long Bridgeport History Scavenger Hunt. You can pick up your card at Frosty Falls, Village Velo Bikes, DeKalb Chiropractic, Bridgeport Veterinary Hospital, Reach Climbing and Fitness, and also here at Borough Hall during their individual business hours. The activity will take place from Saturday, February 25th through Founders Day on March 4th. And to participate, you just need to go to each of the businesses, scan the QR code at their front desk to learn about the history of that building or the surrounding area, and just have one of their team members punch your card. And once you finish at each business, you can bring your completed card to Founders Day and enter to win a handful of excellent prizes, which encompass swag bags, gift cards, and more from these businesses. And supplies are limited, so if you want to participate, just make sure to grab your card as soon as possible. It's going to be pretty exciting. And I just wanted to leave off making note. Just make sure to vote for as many Bridgeport businesses entered in the Best of Montco Happening 2023 competition as you can. The ballots close at the end of the month, so just make sure that we get some Bridgeport wins there. All you have to do is just search for Montco Happening on Google or go directly to their website if you know it. Make sure to vote. I'm just going to list off the businesses that I know are competing. There's Barking Mad Grooming, Bridgeport Elementary, Bridgeport Rib House, Bridgeport Veterinary Hospital, Car Zone Auto Group, Dino's, Fat Boys Deli and Market, GL Kitchens, Frank's Fine Swine, Frosty Falls, Junebug's Sweet Treats, Petals Florist, and Reach. So please feel free to patronize any of those businesses and vote for them. And I did want to note, I have, you might have noticed Chief Beretta's not here. He just wanted to let everyone know just to expect increased DUI patrols in the area over the next 30 days. So that was his message for the evening. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Moving on to new business. Are there any items of new business to discuss this evening? All right, very well. Moving on to open forum and announcements. Any announcements for this evening?
I just want to announce that the park board is doing a winter rec program, and so parents want to do anything through the school. I know that we've been in contact with Randy Bennett to get our kids possibly involved with it. It's free, and so we've long heard people complain that there's not enough to do for kids, and they are doing stuff to help kids do some physical activity. So, if you want to, please reach out to Randy, and he'll give you information.
All right, thank you, Mr. Heil. Any other announcements?
I do have one, actually. Just wanted to let everyone know that Officer Pisa is going to be having his last ride this month. He's been here for, I guess, 35 years now, and his last ride will be taking place on Friday, February 24th. So just listen for more information on that. It's going to be exciting to send him off.
And that'll be in the morning, I believe.
I believe so, yes.
All right, thank you, Mayor Jack Sear. Any other announcements? All right, seeing none, we can proceed to public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment this evening?
I do see Mr. Puzio here, and I just want you to know, Mr. Puzio, that I did send along that curb issue to Mr. Truman, and he's on top of it and unaware. So that's moving along, and I wanted you to know since you're here.
Excuse me. Well, with no public comment,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
What he did.
All right, it's 8:33. We are adjourned. Everybody, thank you. Have a great evening.